And for more, let's go to London. Emma Connolly is research fellow at the Digital Speech Lab of University College London, UCL. Thank you so much for being with us here on France 24.
Good evening.
So let's take a look at Zoran Mamdani's campaign, in particular, his TikToks, instrumental in upsetting the favorites in the primary. We can show one in an iconic New York setting, Brooklyn's Coney Island Beach.
Freezing. Your rent as the next mayor of New York City. Let's plunge into the details.
And there you saw him wearing a suit and tie, dive into the Atlantic Ocean. Emma Connolly, this campaigning by TikTok, is it any different from past social media campaigns?
I think that's a really interesting question. I think when we look at TikTok, we have to look at both its positive and negative influences. It has really been tipped as a way to connect with younger audiences. We know Mamdani's young. Its popularity means that political actors can connect, potentially reach lots of people, and possibly most importantly, its blurring of entertainment and politics can make politics resonate with people who perhaps aren't so politically engaged, or even looking explicitly for political content. So I think TikTok presents a really powerful opportunity for political actors to be able to do that. I think, however, the research is still coming in as to the direct correlation between engagement on TikTok and social media more widely, and electoral success. We don't know necessarily the exact mechanisms through which social media engagement, TikTok engagement, drives voting behavior. It probably has some impact, even if this is more indirect. So clearly, it has a powerful potential, but I think the research is still not quite there as to exactly how this translates into votes. We've seen in other contexts, politicians, Harris, for example, last year, with strong social media presences, but failed to ultimately translate those into votes.
In other instances, we can think back to elections recently in places like Romania and Moldova. They have, and sometimes they've had low-budget campaigns thanks to TikTok. Is there something particular about TikTok? This blurring that you describe of entertainment and politics, that's nothing new. But is there something special in the secret sauce of a TikTok algorithm?
Well, for that, we would have to know exactly how the TikTok algorithm works, and we don't. But I think there's definitely something to say about the type of viral kind of buzz that it generates. And it does differ from other social media platforms in the way that users are encouraged to participate, whether it be through a variety of different actions, and that can make people feel more connected with what they're seeing on social media. And I think that is different to other platforms, for example, X or even Instagram, that has a strong aesthetic presence.
So wait, so what you're saying is that what you're suggesting is that TikTok encourages more viewer engagement than Instagram?
I think it encourages more participatory behavior through the way that, for example, people are invited to participate in trends, and it creates kind of a viral type buzz around news content. But like I said, whether a video has been seen a certain number of times, we're not quite sure yet whether that's the direct impact on voting behavior, whether there is. Or whether it's better for your video perhaps to reach a smaller number of people, but for those people to actually actively engage with it. I think when we look at someone like Mamdani, he uses social media really effectively. But I think we can't forget that this campaign isn't just about his use of social media or his use of TikTok. He's also backed up all of the things that he's done really well on TikTok and on Instagram. He's got a strong Instagram presence. But he's backed this up really, really strongly with strong on-the-ground campaigning. He's been out mobilizing. He's been talking to the people of New York. and he's got really clear messaging. So I think the buzz is certainly a lot of the buzz is certainly around the way that he's been able to leverage the power of TikTok and Instagram. But I think it would be doing him a disservice to all the things that he's been doing alongside that as well.
Yeah, because
because
on that point, there is another product of New York City, the 79-year-old president of the United States, Donald Trump, who also had a very successful TikTok campaign last year. Not the same political family at all. What does that tell you, the fact that they're both successful on TikTok, and are they successful in different ways?
Yeah, again, I think that really interesting question, and I think people are going to be looking at the way the differences that these two have been able to leverage TikTok. I think what we're seeing is two people with certainly with different styles on the same platform. I think perhaps in the past, I think maybe the overriding kind of sentiment is that Trump's kind of form of kind of populism has really found a home on social media, not just TikTok, but through other formats as well. And that's the kind of content that we see amplified by social media algorithms.
Does TikTok favor?
Does
TikTok favor more people who stake out a more radical view, whether it's to the left or to the right?
Well, I think there's certainly a view that is the case. I don't think that's unique to TikTok. I think algorithms in general, are kind of prioritizing perhaps more extreme or sensationalized types of content. There's actually some evidence to suggest that TikTok perhaps maybe mitigates some of that kind of behavior and perhaps open up channels for cross-cutting political discussion. But I think the research is still very new on that, so I think it's really hard to say. But I think what we're seeing from Mamdani, I think is a bit of a shift, because I think in the past, I think there has been the view that social media has perhaps been more of a home for maybe slightly more right wing or Republican views. And I think what we're seeing here is that it can be a useful tool for the Democrats too. I mentioned Harris earlier. We didn't see her campaign translate into electoral success. And only time will tell for this one. But I think there will be other politicians who are looking at this closely, to perhaps see, whether this could be a blueprint for success, going forward for the Democrats in general.
You said earlier, Emma Connolly, this will be my final question, that there's still so much we don't know yet about TikTok, but we know that we're going to have a presidential election in this country in 2027. Those who are the most right now adept at using TikTok are the far right in this country. There are strict rules in France when it comes to equal time, when it comes to broadcasting channels such as ours, France 24. We have somebody who keeps a stopwatch to make sure there's equal time for all the candidates. On social media, it's the Wild West. Should there be more regulation when it comes to campaign laws, when it comes to social media?
Yeah, I think that's really tricky. I think, as far as I'm aware, I think TikTok bans direct political advertising. So in terms of engaging the electorate, it is political actors kind of taking a bit more of an organic and grassroots approach anyway. I think there's a lot of sentiment around how TikTok is going to be influential. You mentioned France. In the UK, this is also becoming contextually relevant, with possible voting legislation to lower votes to 16. But we also have to consider the flip side of that as well. There are other countries who are banning social media for younger users, either outright or partially. And there's potential that other countries could follow suit. I think France was possibly one of the countries considering a digital curfew for for younger users to kind of regulate their social media use. So yeah, you mentioned there's a lot that we don't know about TikTok, and in terms of its influence in elections and campaigns, I think that still remains really uncertain.
Emma Connolly, so many thanks for joining us from London.
No problem. Thank you.